Hey everyone, Kate and Fiona joining you for today's Facebook Live as we head into the end of the year and, of course, a new year in 2023. For me, I love this time of year. I love what comes. I've already started thinking about next year's goals and what I want to focus on and all of those sorts of things, starting to write them down, starting to think about what's worked really well. But I think, Fee, there's some really important context and frame that is really useful to hold when we dig into some of these thinking.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we want to look back on the year and we want to be able to celebrate and acknowledge our achievements and see what's gone well. But at the same time, inevitably at the end of the year, we start to notice perhaps where we've stalled, perhaps we didn't make the progress we would have liked. Even you and I talking about in the business, some of the things we would have loved to have got across the line and perhaps haven't managed to get there. And we start to notice that perhaps there's a little bit of regret. And this can be a really useful thing because as we start to dig into regret, we can learn a lot from it. And we were fortunate enough to unpack Dan Pink's book, The Power of Regret, earlier this year in book club. And I think what I loved about his work is, and all of the research he did with his global regret survey, was people tend to regret what they didn't do. It's very rare to regret what you did. And I think this impetus towards action and doing things is really powerful because it can set us up well for choosing to do something differently in the future.
Yeah, I think the important thing to catch here is part of why we regret it is because we don't know what the outcome would have been, right? When we take action, we have certainty that worked well, that didn't work well. Whereas it's the open loop that comes with inaction or the things we didn't do that tend to stay with us. I think what's really important when we start to dig into some of these reflections is you focus on the lessons, that we don't beat ourselves up. It can be really easy to get into excuse mode, very unhelpful. Taking responsibility is important, but it's just important to hold the context of the conversation and be generous with ourselves with a focus. And, we love Carol Jack's work, Growth Mindset here, and her book Mindset. So it's a great Christmas present if you're looking for something that's going to inspire someone in your world, but really important to focus on the lesson and be generous and compassionate with ourselves.
Yeah, and I think the opportunity that comes when we do that is we're willing to be open and to start to think about and to get curious. The whole growth mindset piece is about, so what could I do differently and how could I choose some different things as I think about what the next year will hold for me? And I think this is the exciting thing. As we explore, as we start to make choices and decisions about what will I opt into, what will I choose to do, what will I make a priority for myself and my world in 2023, it gets really exciting because that starts to, even just the process of thinking about that and making a couple of choices starts to orient us towards the future and starts to give us some of that certainty that you mentioned is so important.
Yeah, I think, in the past, when we've talked about our business and what we want to focus on next year and who we might hire, any movement towards an action that's leading towards that outcome is exciting. Even just buying a book, right? Or, arranging a meeting with a colleague who is inspiring and is a mentor. Or, I know in the past we still are part of programs and group masterminds. Last year we signed up with a new coach to help us go deeper with our own personal and professional development. So what I love most about this time of year is our ability to take action. And on some level, because we've done that, it's not that success is guaranteed, but our hope for what could be in 2023 increases. And I think, there's a really important piece here to think about where we get help. We always talk Ask for Help Chapter 9, who's on your team, and looking at, sponsors, mentors, peers, colleagues, coaches, all of those sorts of things, that mix of paid and unpaid. But I think it's really important that we start to think about this. And of course, one of the things you can do to build that hope is sign up for Rise in 2023. So every year we do 3 career accelerators. The first of those will be in January, Rise 2023. We want this to be bigger, better than any of the other ones we've done. And that event, that Career Accelerator, is really about supporting you to dig into who you are, what you want, where you want to go, perhaps identify some of those roadblocks, those red flags that have been part of the reason you haven't maybe made the traction, the progress that you wanted in 2022, and importantly, build a plan to help you achieve your goals in 23 and surround you with an incredible network who can support you as well. So if you would love to join us, the link will be floating around here somewhere. Click on it, check it out, sign up before Christmas. Places will be limited, but we'd love to have you join us there. And be sure to tune in over the course of the rest of this month. We're going to dig more into how you can really generously and compassionately go about this process of reflection, and provide some tips and around, goal setting and all of those cool things that you get to do at this time of year. Sophie, anything you want to add before we lock off?
Just to make the most of this moment. It's an incredible time to really dig in, to reflect, to be kind to yourself, and also to be stretching of yourself. Think about the things you love if you were held back by any of the things that maybe have stalled your progress during the past year.